local family here that contacted me and asked our family if we would like to come over and pick apples from their apple tree. She had already taken what she wanted and had reached out to some other farms in the area, and we definitely took advantage of all these beautiful apples. So we went yesterday and picked a lot of apples. Between her house and our apples out back, we had over 200 pounds of apples. So suddenly, you know, we have all these apples. What do we do with them? Today, we want to talk about 4 different ways that you can put up your apples for the year. We're going into fall here in Illinois. Favorite time of year for sure because of apple cider and you know, going to the pumpkin farms and doing all that, plus cooler weather, and all the apples become very available. Sometimes you can get them for great prices and different things. So if you find yourself with lots of apples, we want to just talk about the different ways that you can put those up and stock your pantry with those items, because these are great things to have through the winter when they're not available fresh to go pick off your apple tree. So we're going to talk about 4 different ways to put up your apples for the year. First, we're going to talk about juicing or making apple cider. You can do either or depending if you have an apple press or not. Number 2, we're going to talk about freezing apples. We're gonna make apple butter and can that up to put in the pantry, and we're gonna make homemade applesauce, which is the best. Even if your apples aren't the best quality, you can make delicious applesauce, and we use it for all sorts of things. We'll talk about that later. So let's get started.
Okay, let's get started on our apple butter. The first thing you're gonna need to do is peel and core your apples. And we have this apple corer and peeler, which makes the process go much quicker. Then I'm gonna need to peel and chop 6.5 pounds of the apples. Our apples. In each of these crock pots, there are 6.5 pounds of apples. So in this crock pot, we're gonna add, we have our apples already, we're gonna add 1 cup of cane sugar, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla. And we're gonna add that same amount also to here. I'm doing 2 batches right now. So now we're going to lid our crock pots. It's very full now, but it will cook down. And we're gonna put it on high for 1 hour. And then after it goes on high for 1 hour, it'll be quite a bit cooked down already, but then we're gonna move it to low and let it cook for 10 hours at least. And we're gonna stir it and squish it down every couple of hours, just to make sure it all gets completely smooth. The apple butter has been going for about an hour now, and I'm ready to mix it. You see, it's already kind of, ooh, it smells so good. It's kind of breaking down a bit. I'm just going to carefully stir this.
So you're gonna stir these up and then what?
I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna turn it on to low, and then I'm gonna let them go for 10 or more hours, stirring occasionally. Maybe more. I might let it go a full 24 hours. So it'll give me a richer, sweeter butter in the end. Yesterday we started the apple butter in the crock pot, and I let that go for 24 hours, and every couple of hours I would stir it just to make sure there was no burning. And then this morning I turned off the heat on the crock pot and took my stick blender or immersion blender, and I made sure it was all smooth, and then I added to each crock pot a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, just so we could have that maple syrup essence. And as you can see now, it's like beautiful caramely color, and it's very spicy and appley. The kitchen smelled amazing this morning. So now it's time to can it up. And I'm gonna give it a 1/2 inch of headspace roughly. I'm going to be water bath canning this for 20 minutes, and these are for 1/2 pints. And I got 22 jars from the 2 crock pots.
Another way that we are going to use some of these apples is to make apple juice. We already did some yesterday, and we're gonna do more today because who likes apple juice? This kid. Okay, well actually several people do. In previous years we have borrowed an apple press from a friend, and we have made large batches of apple cider and have canned those jars and put them away for the year. That is a wonderful thing to do. This year I'm not doing that, so we're just gonna make some apple juice for us to use this week and next week. It lasts for a few weeks in the fridge. But you can go onto the Ball website and find out the correct proper times for canning apple juice or apple cider if you decided to do that. Like I said, this year we are not going to be doing that. We want to use our apples mostly for applesauce and apple butter, so that's what we're going to do. But I've got my buddy here, he's going to help me. So when you're making apple juice, here we have our Breville juicer, which we really like, and we're going to wash our apples. It's nice because we don't have to peel or core these apples, but we are going to cut them. All right, Jesse, you want to go ahead and turn it on? We're going to cut the apples into 4ths. All right, you go ahead. I'll cut and you put them in.
Can I open it?
Not yet. Let it build up a little bit. You can turn this apple juice into a spiced cider as well by just adding a little bit of maple syrup, cinnamon, nutmeg, whatever you like to put in your cider. You can put into this juice and have it, you know, nice and warm, and it's just really delicious. Perfect on these cool fall nights. All right, let the juice out. Whoa! So our juicer allows the juice to come on this side, and then the pulp gets pushed out on this side. We use the pulp for a couple different things. You can use it for making cookies. You can use it for feeding to your chickens. You can use it to make apple cider vinegar. There, you don't need to shake it. That's okay. When you put the other one in, it'll go down. Okay, here we got these all here. This time let's do this so it doesn't explode on us. There we go. Okay. Okay, So we're gonna do all of these apples until we get another half-gallon jar full. And I'll show you, but we're gonna strain it with a fine mesh strainer just to get out any other pulp because my kids don't like pulp. So we're gonna get that all out and then put it in the fridge. Okay, so for a half-gallon of juice, we juiced 20 apples, and that did it. So yeah, that's a good way to, it obviously depends on the apple size and all of that, but it took us 20 apples to fill a half-gallon of juice.
Make one of our family favorite recipes, and that is our applesauce. The first thing we're going to need to do for our applesauce is we are going to need to peel, core, and chop our apples. Again, I'm going to be using the peeler, core / chopper machine, and then we're going to fill up our pot with apples. And this recipe I don't actually have it written anywhere, so bear with me. We're going to do estimates for this recipe. Okay, so to fill this pot, I used 40 apples. And now I'm going to put in 3/4 cup of lemon juice in with the apples. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cover it and put the heat on medium high. And I'm just gonna let the apples kind of soften and break down a little bit.
Marie, is this where you normally do your math?
No, I was turning off the video, so I can't see it.
There's usually multiple things happening at once, right? So not only school, but apple extravaganza.
Okay, we're back to the applesauce. This has been warming up, boiling for 15 to 20 minutes. I'm gonna turn the heat off and see they've gotten quite a bit softer.
It smells really good in my house right now.
It's way better than chickens.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add to it a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, two teaspoons of cinnamon, a tablespoon of vanilla. We like our vanilla in this household. Now let's do 2. And then 2 cups of maple syrup. All things heavy.
It's like the secret ingredient.
And everything. It's heavy. second, I'm going to stir that up. And then I'm going to continue to cook this on medium with the lid off so it can kind of reduce for a bit.
How long? You're just gonna eyeball it.
I'm going to eyeball it. I'll tell you when I come back.
Okay. Julianne likes to eyeball things.
Very good at eyeballing things. The applesauce has been cooking for around 20 minutes. And as you can see, it's reduced by quite a bit and it's turned very caramely. I'm just going to take my potato masher and just get rid of any of the larger chunks. We prefer chunkier applesauce, so I'm not going to completely puree it. If you wanted to completely puree it, you could use a blender, an immersion blender, let it cook a little longer. But I'm just going to do this for a couple minutes. I'm going to put them in jars and I'm going to jar them.
Can them up?
Yeah.
What size jars?
I think I'm going to do quarts this time because we have enough pints already.
Okay.
I'm going to water bath those for 30 minutes.
Okay. So we're not going to show the start to finish process of that today. If you guys want a more involved video on how to can applesauce, we can do that. But today, because we're doing so many different versions of apples, we are just going to give you the overview.
It smells so good.
I don't know where they keep coming from. There's just keep getting more in my hands. Okay, now we're going to talk about freezing apples, okay? So this is a nice, easy step. It does take up a little bit of space in your freezer because you have to freeze these flat at first. But then once they're frozen, you can consolidate them into freezer bags, and then it really doesn't take up that much space. We are going to be doing a small amount of frozen apples so that we can use them for pies and for tarts and for apple crisp, but I'm not going to do a ton. We're really going to can most of our stuff so that it lasts all winter and doesn't take up freezer space. But what you need to do for this process, like you saw what Elise just did, we are going to core, you can see right through it, we're going to core and peel several apples. I'm not sure, I'll let you know at the end how many we actually do. I'm going to do several layers and stack them on top of each other once you freeze them. But it's so easy. Once you peel it, once you core it, all I have to do is chop it in half. Okay? Then I'm going to take these and put them into, it is a water with lemon juice mixture. Okay? This is 4 cups of water, and it has 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in it. We're gonna soak this for just a minute, and she's gonna give me, here's another apple. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna put these in here. I'm gonna let these soak. This will help cut down on the browning, having that lemon juice in there. Once I kind of get this full, I'm going to strain this, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do. We're gonna move the apples over here and lay them flat over on the parchment. But let's do this for a couple minutes first. You have to keep them separate for the freezing process, otherwise they freeze into clumps, big chunks, and that's no good. So this is a way to avoid that. It's an extra step, but it works. And I'm gonna do this layer and probably, maybe, we'll see what we get to, maybe like 5 layers on this pan, we'll see. And then put it in the upright freezer, and there's really no rush. You can let it sit in there for several hours or a few days and then bag them. It doesn't really, the timeline doesn't matter too much for that. Okay, we've got several layers here. We're gonna pop this in the freezer and get these all frozen up. Once they're fully frozen, then you'll pull back the layers and put these in freezer bags and have them stored up for whenever you wanna use them. All right, you guys, there you have it. That's the 4 different ways that we are gonna put up this huge bulk supply of apples that we were blessed with, which was awesome and wonderful. If you guys have any other ideas on things to do with apples, please let us know below in the comments and we will check it out. All right, we hope this was helpful and just, inspired you guys to put up some more stuff in your pantry. And yeah, we'll talk to y'all soon.
Finish up. Oh, you love the apples.
Just get one.